Hello, welcome to another episode in Yummy Data Science. This video picks up where the last one left off. In the last two videos, we have been doing some exploratory data analysis with inpatient claims data that is put out there by CMS, and this is inpatient claims data that are synthetically generated by CMS. So previously in the last two videos, we looked at the file and we determined that there were over 200 columns. There were 200 columns, and we were able to, by looking at the data, by analyzing the column names in Excel, both alphabetically and the order in which they appeared in the data set, we were able to remove about 80 of those columns. So we brought down the column count to a more manageable number. And then we also decided that this file had both the claim header and the claim detail information. So we don't need the detail information. So we filtered for the first claim line number. So that's what we did. And then we have now brought the file down, the row count from 58K to a more manageable 22K. And so now that we have a chunk of the file that we can work with, we can start doing some checking on it. And I like to do both macro level checks. So macro level checks are more like file level checks. So for example, I have an year column. I'd like to see how many rows of inpatient admits do I have by year. So bar chart by year. Then I want to look at length of stay. So I'll do a density plot or a bar chart of that. And then, so these are the macro level checks. And then I'm also going to do micro level checks, which is I'm going to print out some interesting claims and to look at them. Do they make sense? And to also increase my understanding of the data. So let's go with the macro level checks. And as before, I'm going to be going over to RStudio, where I've fired up RStudio by double clicking on the R project file and then opening up the right script. So you can see that first in line 3, I'm reading the file. And then this set of code you've seen quite a bit. And it selects for where claim line number is 1. So let's run the segment. So we did glimpse and we can see, we can verify indeed that the file has about 21,000 rows and 122 columns. So what I want to do is, so I want to create a bar chart of how many discharges I have, how many rows of data in year. And as you can see, year is computed from the claim through, and so that is a proxy for discharge date. So let's do a bar graph on discharges by year. And so here we go. So we can see that we have the data from 2015 all the way up to 2022, and it increases. And in 2023, it goes down. And that makes sense. 2022 is the last year of data that we have. And so some of that flows into 2023. So this looks pretty good. This is not giving me any concern. I guess if the file were touted to be through 2023, I would investigate why we have so many fewer 2023 records. So this is good. And now what I'd like to do is figure out, do the same thing on the distribution of length of stay. And I'm going to do a density plot on it. So with the density plot, just look what a big spike there is on 0. And it's not really telling me much because of this overwhelming spike. So I'm going to do a bar chart. And then I'm going to zoom it because again, there's that spike. And now I can see that there are about more than 15,000, maybe 16,000 records out of the 21,000 that are centered, that are LOS, length of stay of 1. And I'm curious, why is that so? Could it be that I did something wrong? So maybe I should check my computation of LOS. And my computation of LOS is the difference in days between the claim through date and the claim from. So plus 1. And so it's telling me that LOS of 1 means that they were admitted and discharged on the same day. So that gives me a little bit of a clue. And I'm thinking these are the same day visits. Are they ER? And if they are ER, let's define ER. So that's what I will do. First, I'm going to check if these are somehow ER claims. So recall what revenue center means. Revenue center for a hospital means that it's which department is it coming from. And a quick check on the internet, if you look up revenue codes, it will tell you that anything that's 450, that is revenue code of ED. And I think there's a range of it, but here I'm going to go with 450 because what I saw when I did a distinctive revenue center is 450 and 1, and 1 means general hospital. So now I know that my ER has something to do with a revenue center is 450. And here I'm going to be pulling these claims out by defining them as revenue center is 450. And so now I got 16,372 claims. And I want to figure out if all the length of stay here is all 1 in the ER claims. ER claims can have length of stay more than 1. A person could be in observation or in the ER during the evening, in the night. So it could be more than 2, but let's just make a rule and we're going to define ER so that it's the same day discharge. So I'll look at it and I'll see that there's a little bit of a blip here at LOS is 2. So just for the sake of simplicity and further analysis, what I'm going to say is ER is defined when revenue center is equal to 450 and length of stay is 1. Now, this may not be the correct for your file. So in that case, I would look at, revenue center codes and make sure that this is how your organization classifies ER claims. So I'm going to be doing it this way. And now that I have figured out what my ER claims are, I can create a flag in my inpatient data set, and I'm going to create a flag ER, which is 1 or 0 using the if-else functionality. And the if-else function is very simple. All it says is, if revenue center is 450 and length of stay is 1, then give it a 1, otherwise it's a 0. And now if I plot this, there you go. So now if I plot this, I get ER is 0. These are my inpatient discharges. So that's about a little over 5,000, and this is the ER. Now, in a traditional file, in a real file, this is synthetic data. In a real file, if they are coming in as an inpatient, so remember, type of bill is composed of several elements. The first one is what facility is it? So in this file, that is hospital. Then the second is it inpatient or outpatient? And in this file, it is all inpatient. So these ER claims would all be inpatient admits who were admitted through the ER. So the visit began with an ER and then they were admitted. Now, many of these, you can see that these are like 15,000, and we don't have a corresponding number of inpatient stays. So that means that these files have been synthetically created. But in a real data, you would be looking at the ER part of an inpatient claims. If you were to do an analysis on ER claims, you would be looking at the inpatient file, and you'd be taking out the revenue code of 450. You'd be taking out that portion, and then you would go to your outpatient file, and you would also be looking at the 450. So ER claims could be in one of two ways. They could be in your outpatient file where it was the visit they were discharged, and then in the inpatient file where they were admitted. And then the claim for the inpatient file would be a combined claim where it starts with an ER visits and then there's an inpatient stay. So now that we have done this, we have figured out the mystery behind the length of stay of one and figured that out, we can do some micro level checks. So these are macro level checks that we have done. Now we can do micro level checks. And micro level is you look at a few sample patient IDs, you look at a few claims, and you figure out, well, what's going on? And this is to educate yourself about the data. And this is a very important part. So in a previous video, I'd expressed curiosity about this BenAID, and I wanted to see what their patient journey was. So I'm going to be filtering on that, and you will see that this person had 3 encounters, one in January, last day of January to the 12th of February, then the 10th of February to the 19th, and this one is, oh no, sorry, this is not the 19th, this is the 12th. So 2-day and then again a 3-day. So I'm kind of curious, why they went into the hospital right away. And these are not intermediate claims, they're final claims. So maybe it's something, the data is quirky because it was created in a synthetic manner. But you definitely want to do this. You want to interrogate your data at a macro level and a micro level. So for the class exercises, what I'd be curious to know and is, are there any patient IDs who have more than 5 ER visits? What about more than 5 inpatient stays? And you want to analyze these. And this is a good practice because what you want to do when you're doing micro level checks, you want to look at the extremes of your data. What are my extremes? So any analysis that you're planning, you've got those extremes in mind. So thank you for listening. This concludes our exploratory data analysis with the inpatient claims files. The next set of videos will talk about how to tidy up these files to create them in a tidy format so that they are amenable to analysis, and then also to create a data model that is also conducive to analytics. Thank you for listening.